It's official, my dear friends. Lucasfilm is working on its next animated Star Wars show. A new Lucasfilm job listing reveals that it is in development. We don't have too many details on what it's going to be, if it's another clone show, if it's going to be Rex Echo, Wolf and Gregor before the events of Star Wars Rebels, if it's going to be an Asajj Ventress spin-off, but I do have something of a scoop, which I'm going to share later in this video. Nonetheless, Lucasfilm has set its sights on developing the next long-form series, so not Tales of the Jedi Season 2, not Tales of the Empire Season 2, and we know this because a listing on Disney Careers reveals Lucasfilm Animation is in search of a shot production coordinator to help with the next animated series. While no other hints were given, it makes sense that we're due for some kind of announcement for the next Star Wars animated show probably in the next few months. Following the Acolyte, we have Skeleton Crew, but I imagine they also want to tease a future animated Star Wars series to get Bad Batch fans excited for what comes next. Is it time to move on from the clones? That is the big question. I personally want a series based on the Jedi path, combining elements from the Star Wars Jedi games, maybe Kelleran Beck, where he took Grogu, Asajj Ventress, and Quinlan Voss. Now here's the thing, my dear friends. I had the privilege of speaking to Nika, Futterman, voice actress of Asajj Ventress. I asked her two big questions. Can we expect a near future return for Asajj, and is she still with Quinlan Voss, following her survival in the Bad Batch Season 3 after the events of Dark Disciple the book? Futterman couldn't reveal much. I asked her explicitly about Quinlan Voss, considering the relationship the two characters shared in the book. She said flat out, she never read Dark Disciple but didn't care for it, because at the end of the day, Asajj is alive. But in a cryptic way, she told me to keep an eye out. We might get an answer in due time. My deduction from this, my dear friends, is Lucasfilm is working on a series that includes Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss.
Well, I have to admit, I did not read Dark Disciple because, I heard what happened to her and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but I heard it was amazing. Anyway, doesn't matter, because she's not dead. Obviously, she returned in Bad Batch. And all I can say to you, darling, is keep a lookout for the future. And as far as her and Quinlan, I would also say, keep a lookout in the future, because you never know what could happen.
I think there is a good chance it's set during the Empire and a sequel to the Bad Batch that also connects other eras, shows, and characters. So that is what we know so far. I've seen a lot of fan wishes that this is going to be a Tales of the Clone Wars type series, finishing some of the incomplete arcs. At this time we have no idea, but I suspect whatever series we get is going to continue in a linear fashion after the Bad Batch, unless, and this is another suggestion, an animated High Republic series tying into Young Jedi Adventures and well before the Acolyte. Lucasfilm are really pushing the High Republic, so that wouldn't surprise me either. Another possible route for the new animated Star Wars show could be a long-form series set during the Old Republic. We don't know if they want to explore this or how far back they're going to go. There's a lot of potential if they want to do this, and I would say with the recent quality of animated shows, this would be a fantastic medium to explore that. And I think that's what really excites me about the future of Star Wars storytelling. I know the Acolyte's been a very bleak period, but we have the possibility not just with Andor Season 2, which I'm really looking forward to, but the animated side, to really get back on track to storytelling that I think is more unanimously liked. I know the Bad Batch wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but I personally loved the 3 seasons. Not just this, I also had a great time with the Clone Wars Season 7, Star Wars Rebels, Tales of the Jedi was awesome, and surprisingly there's been more depth in terms of themes and character development in the animated stuff than recent live action. That's just my view. If the next animated Star Wars series does go the route of keeping in the Clone Wars legacy, then it needs to do something refreshing, shaping its own identity, going in its own direction, while also maintaining the key balance of fun mixed with complex ideas. Something which made the Bad Batch and Star Wars Rebels some of the best Star Wars storytelling of the recent 10 years is the ability to balance genuine dramatic weight with light-hearted Star Wars tropes that makes the franchise so great. Even though Star Wars Rebels was a very different animated style to, let's say, the Clone Wars series, and even though it was criticized to death when it first came out, its legacy is one of hope, and at times you would be convinced the storytelling came straight from George Lucas himself. So I think that is where Dave Filoni's reputation comes from, his understanding of how to craft good animated Star Wars series, even if with the Bad Batch, he stepped away quite early on in the process. I'm sure he's still going to be an important part of Star Wars storytelling, whatever the next stage is. As CCO, I'm sure he's going to be in charge of a lot of creative choices. He's received backlash for decisions he made on the Acolyte, for certain things in Ahsoka and Mando, but at the end of the day, animation, Star Wars animation is his bread and butter, so while some connections to larger Star Wars films are found in these shows, they need to forge their own identity too. I'm excited for whatever's coming next. And The Acolyte is finally coming to an end, and I just want to talk about that for a moment before we move on to something a bit more lighthearted. Whether you loved this series or you didn't, it was a very tense period of time for the Star Wars fandom, and I'm kind of happy we can look forward to a show like Skeleton Crew this coming fall, which looks like it's going to be a lot less stigmatizing. We're back to the post-Episode 6 Mandalorian universe, and we can look forward to a Goonies-style adventure starring Jude Law. I feel like with The Acolyte it highlighted so much fan division, and every week it was an exhausting experience. As I say, regardless of which side you were on, whether you adored the show or hated every episode, this big block in between us as fans. So I'm hoping that can be recovered to some extent, and we look forward to better days for Star Wars content and as a fandom. Another big update, my dear friends. Padme might be dead, but Natalie Portman has once again said she'd like to return to the Star Wars universe. But this time, she's got a condition. She says, "I wouldn't say no." Speaking with The View, she was asked if she's at a stage of her life where she would want to return to the galaxy far, far away. And Natalie says, absolutely, especially if Moses Ingram is involved. My brilliant co-star on Lady in the Lake is also in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So if I got to work with her, I would do anything with her. I guess the only problem is, how could Padme and Reva be in the same scenes? Padme is long dead by the time Reva is grown up. She's defected, she's no longer an Inquisitor, but I suppose if they did an Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2, Padme could appear in flashbacks, Reva could be involved in the present day, they would in theory be working together behind the scenes. It's an interesting one because I feel as though Natalie Portman's been asked the same question every single year. Of all of the series that could be renewed for a second season, Kenobi is the one which I think is the most unlikely. Lucasfilm have expressed very little interest in doing anything more with it. Deborah Chow said, "It's pretty much a one and done. We don't know if Lucasfilm want to reopen that door. If they do it, why not make it a movie?" I think Star Wars fans would be absolutely graced with more Natalie Portman in it. And that could be my bias as a prequels fan. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.